I think that we were nesting and she just had an opinion on nesting and she did not want for us to do that. And she was very clear that she believed that it won't work. And we left there saying, well, we're not going to allow for the judge to tell us how we want to live our lives with our children. This is what's best for our kids. And that we wanted to fight that because we had a very amicable relationship. And you know what? We're still nesting and it's going strong. And I feel really, really badly that the courts are tied or the judges are tied to people not coming back, right? And therefore they're putting their opinions out there, in situations where things are really working really well and it could be in the best interest of the children, but yet, we're still getting pushbacks from the courts. What do you see? And if somebody comes to you and says, we want to nest, how do you, and let me just give the audience a little bit of an understanding what nesting is. So I'm using the acronyms too. So my ex and I decided that we were going to keep the family home as the family home. The kids stay in the house. And our second residence was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. Had lucky enough to have a guest room in the primary residence. And we were lucky enough to be able to have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in the second residence. We were the travelers. The adults were the travelers. We went back and forth into the house and the children stay in the house. And therefore their lives weren't disrupted. We didn't have to worry about where the cleats were or the backpacks or forgetting the homework or, didn't know where that favorite shirt was. They slept in the same bed every night. And it worked really well for us. And it still continues to work well for us. Our kids are older. Daughter's already out of the house. Son is a senior. So we only have like 6 more months left of doing this. But if someone comes to you, Carolyn, and says, hey, this is what we want to do, how do you approach that? And how do you think about the way that the court is going to look at it when you're advising your customers or your clients?
So I really feel very strongly, as I think many mediators probably do, in the right of self-determination. That's the whole point of mediation. These are families and individuals who say, I want control over my life. I'm not going to have a third party make any decisions for me. I know what's best for my children. We agree on this. This is our value structure. And those are the individuals who really end up in my office. And I think it's unfortunate, the experience that you had. And I'm truly sorry that you had that experience because I disagree with that. I think it's okay for a judge, if they want to double check, if they're concerned, to ask the questions. I think that's their role, especially if there are minor children, to look out for the children, to make sure parents are as well. But I do think that if both parents are in accord, if both parents are in agreement and they have had, they've done their due diligence, they feel comfortable with it and they verbalize that on the record, I think that should be sufficient to uphold the terms of that agreement without interference. So, I guess I'm not that you got a new judge after that. Maybe there were some issues. Who knows? I mean, I'm not particular. I'm not aware of what happened in that particular detail, right? But, with regard to individuals who come to my office and nest, and there are quite a few who do, and there are quite a few, quite honestly, who, if they can't afford to live separately, but they want to be divorced, sometimes they continue to cohabit in the house as well, which is another level of, it's a special couple. Put it to that way. I mean, I tell people when they want to nest or continue to cohabit after divorce that you have to be a very special couple to do that. You have to have very clear boundaries and understanding and really have the ability to put your children before your own feelings. The couples who work with me and who want that, that's in their agreement. It's memorialized. I go through the pros and cons because for that, I feel that that's the informed consent portion. I say, are you aware this could happen? We build in provisions that allow people to have the ability to revisit that periodically and some protections in there for both parties to be able to see if that's still working and what happens if it isn't and who will make that evaluation so that it's fair. But I will tell you that the goal really is to have an agreement where you don't need to look at it all the time, that it's really there to say, okay, this is what we're going to have when we're not in agreement. We'll look at it, but people modify their agreements all the time by a common understanding between them if it's working. So
Yeah.
Does that,
You know,
yeah.
I totally, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I really love your honesty around that. I think that, for the nesting, or I deal with a lot of clients too on the coaching side that want to cohabitate for at least a certain amount of time, right? So there's all these transitionary plans that we map out in coaching. And we do what we call in that transitionary plan. I lived under the same roof for 9 months when we decided to separate. And we had this, what we call this on duty, off duty plan.
Exactly.
So it was a parenting time plan. And Mondays and Tuesdays, I would have the kids on duty. And Wednesdays and Thursdays, he would have the kids on duty. And if there was nowhere to go when you were off duty and you would like to, join the family for dinner, there was a conversation outside of the kids' knowledge, be like, hey, I don't actually have anything going on tonight. Would it be okay if I was home for dinner so we can enjoy dinner as a family? And the open and honest of yes or no was okay. No, you know what? I really want to spend some time by myself with the kids tonight. Do you think that maybe you could find something to do at least until 8 o'clock? Like there was just, and we didn't take that as like a personal attack. And that's part of it, right? And we continue to do that. We continue to have conversations around let's have a family dinner or let's plan something to do together with the kids. And there's always that, you know what? No, I worked really hard this week. I really didn't get a chance in my time to get to see them. Do you think we can plan that for a different night? There's just can be that. And I always tell people like it has so much to do with your own personal ability to manage your reactions, right? And you can't control somebody else, but you can control how you react to them, how you interpret and understand the stories and beliefs you've created for yourself based on things that are happening in your life. And you have the ability to rescript and rethink, because that is where the amicable resolution is possible, right? It's only possible is if one, you have clarity around those results that you're looking for your children, for yourself. And if you can understand how your feelings are dictating how you're showing up and how you're acting. And the only way you can really do that is by having that level of open communication, making sure you're checking in with your thoughts. If you have issues with understanding what somebody means when they're saying something to you, just do some active listening. What I hear you saying is X. Is that what you meant, from that, whatever you said? And then give that person the opportunity to just, say, no, that's not what I meant at all.